And welcome everyone to this week's episode of Craze's Corner. I'm joined by Jeff and Will from Media. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different teams here, some fantasy impacts. How are we doing tonight?
Great.
Could be doing better. Could be doing better.
Could be doing better.
2 points, Jeff.
I think
2 points. 2 points.
Yeah, Jeff and Will played each other in our Dynasty League. Will came out on top after his rebuild now, looking good, 4-1, top of the division. My team, not meeting expectations. Jeff just currently beating me by points for that playoff spot, but lots of teams to play still. We're going to talk about just some guys. We're going to talk about the Bengals with Joe Flacco. We're going to talk about the Chargers running back room. The Jaguars been a little bit disappointing despite the record. The Dolphins, what do you do now that Tyreek Hill's out? And with Rashee Rice coming back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Chiefs. But like I said, we're going to start off with the biggest news story of the week for fantasy. Joe Flacco coming in, and he will be starting for the Cincinnati Bengals. I cannot think of a worse offensive line to put a 41-year-old quarterback behind. While he's there, he's going to take shots down the field to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins when the offensive line gives him time to take those shots. But I don't necessarily love this for Flacco. He's going to be there for while he's still healthy, but, Browning's been taking a lot of hits. Burrow historically has taken a lot of hits, so we'll see how Joe Flacco, lasts, how long he can be their quarterback for, but I think it's good for Chase just to get him a quarterback that will throw the ball, is going to take the shots. Chase, will be his number one wide receiver, and I think that Flacco will air the ball out, so I think it's good for him that way. Maybe Chase Brown gets a few more dump-offs when Flacco's getting the pressure in his face, so maybe Chase Brown can be fantasy relevant. Do you guys think that Chase Brown has any sort of a chance? Are you guys still okay with Jamar Chase there as a wide receiver one?
Somebody's got to catch the ball, which is the only thing that they're going to do is Joe Flacco catch and chuck it. That's all I can see this whole – Zach Taylor is doing anything he can right now to hold on to his job. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think he is finally done at the end of this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had Joe Flacco in a league where I'm trying to rebuild. I got an offer earlier this week. I was telling Will about it before this show started recording. I traded away Joe Flacco and Keenan Allen to a team who's trying to compete, and I got back Travion Henderson in a 4th-round pick. So if you have Joe Flacco in a dynasty league and you're in a 12-team super flex league where starting quarterbacks are valuable, try and move him because there is guys who are willing to pay up, guys who are competing who don't have quarterbacks right now. Maybe they had Joe Burrow, they have Lamar Jackson who's currently hurt. You can get value for these guys. Like I said, I turned them into Travion Henderson. So if you can get any sort of value like that in return. But yeah, I think that Chase Brown's interesting to me to look at just because he's been so disappointing and they still keep giving him the volume. It's like, does this help him out just a little bit in the receiving game where he just gets those checkdowns? I'm just not 100% sold it's going to happen. So maybe if you have him, you can try and sell that as you try and move him. But I'm kind of still out on the Bengals offense for the most part, unless you guys have anything else to say here. I think we all kind of feel the same way. Joe Flacco's not coming in and changing this offense around.
So I guess the question I have is, in a dynasty league, should you be trading for some Chase? Should you be making a deal, try to see if you can get him? It's a future, but if you're ever going to get him, now's the time to get him.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get him, I think that in Dynasty, Chase is still going to be super hard to get. I think he's still probably the wide receiver one in Dynasty, which just makes it hard to try and acquire. But if the guy who has him is competing, maybe you can try and get him for a little bit cheaper, trade him a guy who's, returning on value right now, a guy who is putting up points that maybe Chase won't. So it's an avenue you can try and go down. I just don't think it's going to be quite so easy, but probably worth a shot. And speaking of shots, I think that's kind of how we have to look at this Chargers backfield right now. You've got Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal. Maybe they'll bring in another veteran running back. I would love for them to bring back Gus Edwards just for fun. Bring him back into this offense. But currently it's Vidal and Haskins. I see it as kind of a dart throw, as Jeff just did there. But if you guys had to bet on who scores the most fantasy points for the rest of the season, which side are you on, Haskins or Vidal?
It's kind of like asking me to choose between an ugly girl and let me not do that.
I was like, where is this going, Jeff?
Just going off the rails real quick.
It's just too. I mean, you just got two bad choices. The thing is, I just think it's going to be just a committee. I don't think they're going to even try a hot hand, or it's going to be choosing two things you don't want. You know, that's the thing. Vidal hasn't really done anything to show you that he's going, even though the Chargers, we know that they want to run the ball. I just haven't seen anything with Kamani Vidal to justify him being an RB1. There's some history there with Haskins going back to college. So that's the only reason why I kind of look at him, but I think this is going to just be a full-blown committee with no guy that's really going to go ahead and stand out and take the lead.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at these two guys, they have sort of different skill sets. I think that Vidal is going to get the passing down work, and I think that's going to be kind of his role. And I think Haskins, being the bigger guy, 230, is probably going to be the goal line guy. So you're taking your chances as whether are the Chargers going to score this week, and is Haskins going to get the goal line touch, or are they going to be throwing the ball a lot, and that'll be Vidal in the game in the 2-minute drills. And I think it's going to kind of be a week-to-week thing. You're going to have to look at the matchup. This week, I believe they have a favorable matchup, so Haskins is probably the guy that you want to play, in my opinion. But essentially, I think for Haskins, you're going to be relying upon him scoring, which, with the Chargers offense until Hampton gets back, probably will be the safer bet than having Vidal catching, 6 catches a game to be fantasy relevant. Will, what are your thoughts?
I would go with Haskins, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's a trade coming with the Chargers after this week. I'll put one out there. Watch Kamara. Saints could trade him. They're not in cap hell like they used to be, so they could trade him without a problem. Mm-hmm. And if you're the Chargers and you lose this week, you can't run the ball. And yeah, Hampton was looking okay, but he's still a rookie. Do you trade a pick for like a Kamara? So I think if I was thinking Chargers, I'm thinking Chargers right now. I think the long-term solution to the Chargers for this season is not on the roster right now.
Yeah, I could see them doing something to bring in another running back. As for the whole Kamara thing, I've seen reports coming out of New Orleans where it's like, teams may have inquired about Kamara, but Kamara really doesn't want to play anywhere other than New Orleans. That's where he's always played. And I do kind of believe that Kamara is going to retire with the Saints. I think even if he takes a step back with the team eventually, I think that he's still going to be there, and that's kind of where he just wants to be. He's content with losing, and that seems to be what the Saints are also content with doing. So just let them to lose in peace and keep everyone else around the league happy. But we got the Jaguars, the 4-1 team, kind of the opposite of the direction the Chargers are heading in. 4-1. Travis Etienne has had some games. Travis Hunter, amazing catch last week. Yeah. Wearing all pink, which we love to see. We need to bring that back in the NFL. Get all the players wearing the pink accessories again in October. But Brian Thomas Jr. has not had a half-point PPR game over 10 points so far this season, and the Jags have been winning games. So my question to you guys is, Brian Thomas Jr. has yet to really come on this season. He was drafted at the end of round 1, beginning of round 2 in a lot of redraft leagues. How confident are you with Brian Thomas Jr. starting him every week going forward, being that the Jaguars have had success without him being good? Are you guys okay with him still being your wide receiver 1 or 2? Or are you guys nervous putting him out there every week, kind of looking for other options?
I'm a little bit nervous because it seems like the offense has kind of changed where it's relying heavily on Etienne. I mean, remember last year, he seemed like he was going to be out the door with Tank Bigsby, and now them, drafting Tootin this year. And they're winning in a lot of weird, quirky ways. It's not like they're going out there dominating, and it's not like the offense is just offensive juggernaut. They're winning on the defense, they're winning on the run game, and they're even winning just on let's just call him the Prince, the quarterback running, and picking up some first downs here and there. And, it's just a very weird way, and Parker Washington just doing something on special teams. It's very, very weird how these guys are winning right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Will, I know you have some thoughts about Trevor Lawrence. So are you nervous with Brian Thomas Jr. in your starting lineup?
Yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm keeping him in because I probably what choice do I have? Unless I got a steal in later rounds. I mean, he was probably drafted to be my number one. So in a redraft league, and in Dynasty, not a lot on the waiver wire, depending on the format of your league. I mean, the guy on the waiver wire might be averaging 8 points a game. Well, that's about what Thomas is going to get you. The thing I'm more frustrated with and watching that Chiefs game. So, do we ever get to talk about Trevor Lawrence being a bust for where he was drafted and for what people's hype was about him? I mean, they won that game, but he did not look good. He looked scared. He looked like he was mistake prone. Like you almost got the feeling this guy's going to cost them the game. So at what point does Jacksonville get to have an honest conversation? Are you really going to keep paying this guy all this money and more of your cap for what? Like next year, you can have your opinions about the draft next year for quarterbacks, and from a fantasy perspective, like this guy's he's killing Jacksonville fantasy assets for a lot of owners. And that's just the truth.
Well, that conversation ain't coming when they're 4-1. Because right now,
that's what I'm saying is if they were going to have those conversations, it would have been when they were struggling. They just paid him. The dead cap is like 130 million, 116 million to move on.
I agree, but can we agree he's not what everybody thought he was going to be?
Yeah, he's definitely not the second coming of Tom Brady like he was supposed to be. But I think he's done he got paid, so he's there now. And I think that they're winning, which definitely helps them out. I think give them a little bit more time under Cohen and see what this offense can kind of develop into. Is it Trevor Lawrence's fault that Brian Thomas Jr. hasn't been great? Probably partially, but I think it's also on Brian Thomas Jr. He's had the drops, but he's been able to get open. He's getting targets, which is good. For me, the most important thing now, I think, is Brenton Strange is on IR for the next 4 weeks. Yeah. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. He's going to need to get more targets. I don't see Johnny Munt coming in and getting, a ton of targets a game. Parker Washington, as you mentioned, has been okay. De'Ami Brown's also been good, and Travis Hunter seems to be getting more and more involved in the offense. But I do think that this offense, if they want to win, they just beat the Chiefs, sure. But if this team wants to go toe-to-toe with the Bills, who lost to the Patriots, sure. But, the top teams in the AFC, they're going to have to play through Brian Thomas Jr. because he is still their best offensive weapon. And I think Trevor Lawrence will be able to do enough to get him the ball that I am more confident in Brian Thomas Jr., at least for the next 4 weeks. And I think that he can kind of re-emerge with Strange being out there, and hopefully Jacksonville will be able to continue their winning streak and, continue to show up, and maybe they will be the champions of the AFC South. Another AFC team who is definitely not going to be the champion of their division, and that's the Miami Dolphins. Looking at a team who went into Carolina, were, kind of maybe favored to win the game. No Tyreek Hill. Sure, all right. Now it's time for the other guys to step up. Devon Etienne, 16 yards on the ground. Very, very concerning number considering the team was up 17-0 after, 20 minutes into the game, they're up 17-0, and your RB1 gets 16 rushing yards. Not acceptable. Jalen Waddle looked good. He was getting the targets, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Darren Waller, halftime, had 5 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. And then he did nothing more in the second half. I think Mike McDaniels will be gone within the next few weeks, which gives me some concern as to how this offense is going to run. Right now, it's running through really no one. It's not like, Etienne's getting the screens Waddle seems to be kind of getting more involved into that Tyreek Hill role. Tried to get Malik Washington the ball. He had no receiving yards on 4 catches. So it really doesn't work when your screen game isn't working, which is how Etienne has had success, how Washington needs to have his success. So it's really Waddle and Darren Waller that can capitalize on the matchups, which they should have been able to do against a bad linebacking core and safety core with the Panthers, which they just weren't able to get it done. So I'm nervous for Waller's consistency if they can just go a quarter or a half when they need to make plays and not target him. Etienne, again, 10 carries for 16 yards is concerning. That offensive line isn't great, and 6 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown. But I think that touchdown was almost a 15-yard touchdown. So you're looking at inefficiencies on this offense, where Etienne and Waddle, I think, will be okay because of the volume, and I think Waller, you're just going to have to kind of play based on the matchup. But it's definitely not what everyone kind of wanted this Dolphins offense to be, and I think Mike McDaniels will be gone soon. And then, you might see a little bit of a shift where maybe Etienne can finally just get some more touches and kind of just be able to be a little bit more efficient without these behind the yard, 5-yard negative passes that he keeps getting thrown the ball where he has to fight 5 yards just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Do you guys feel the same frustrations with the Miami Dolphins? I know I have him in our Dynasty League. Will, you have him and Waddle in Ocean State's Dynasty League. How do you feel about the Dolphins?
It's the Dolphins. I mean, look, at this point, I want to know if there's a prop bet. McDaniel gets fired next week. Belichick gets fired by UNC next week. Belichick is named the head coach of the Dolphins going into the following week.
I mean, that'd be crazy. They've been talking about the buyout for Bill Belichick in UNC.
Why all of a sudden? Why? I think Belichick's actually behind it to get out of that contract. I do think. Look, would we be shocked if the Dolphins have been talking to him?
Maybe. I mean, their owner has been known to tamper. So
yes. I'm just saying. So you ask me. Although I think they are giving points every week. I mean, Etienne's had a good week for me.
That's what I'm looking
Waller's had great weeks. Like, I'm not a Dolphins fan.
Yeah,
they're putting up points.
Etienne had 16 touches and 40 yards and a touchdown. It's like that's pretty. Like the volume's there, but just the way that they get him the ball just is like, come on, guys! Like this guy can do literally anything, and you give him minus 5-yard screens every time, and it's. I need him.
Their schedule gets better. Atlanta, Baltimore, New Orleans, especially in crunch time, fantasy playoffs. The New Orleans, the Jets, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay makes me worry, but Tampa Bay's giving up a lot of points. So, it may be a good strategy to try to get some of these Dolphin players for your playoff run because assuming Tua stays healthy.
That's a big assumption nowadays.
Boy, that's a big assumption.
Yeah, so that's the Dolphins. We're all, the Dolphins, we'll see what happens because McDaniels isn't going to be there come playoff time. So I want to see what this offense looks like when he's not there. And maybe they get the guys, the ball in front of the line of scrimmage instead of behind the line of scrimmage. That would really be ideal for Washington, for Etienne out of the backfield. Let's get these guys the ball with space in front of the line of scrimmage, please.
I will say this. I'd rather them keep McDaniel than bring in Belichick. If they bring in Belichick, I'm out on all Dolphins players.
I'm in on Etienne. If they bring in Belichick and Etienne's going to get 25 carries a game, sign me up because he'll break one every day. Every game, he'll break an 80-yard touchdown because that's the guy he is. If he gets 20 carries, 25 carries a game, he's gonna break one. And
Have
then
you seen the North Carolina Tar Heels football games lately?
He's getting ready to go to the game. Oh no, that's basketball. He's not going to football.
Yeah. I am going to a football game. We'll see. I'm going to see UNC Stanford.
They should pay you to go.
Well, I'm also going to see the Panthers and the Lakers that weekend, so that's not exactly the most exciting of games I'm going to see. But, yeah, then we got the Chiefs here I want to talk about. They lost to the Jaguars. The running back position, Huntsman scoring. He gets the receiving work. Pacheco gets everything between the 20s, which doesn't really amount to any fantasy. Their wide receiver core, Thornton's been okay. Worthy's been in and out of the lineup. Hollywood Brown's not been consistent. Juju been okay. Travis Kelce has been able to put up points these past few weeks. 19 points last week with the touchdown, 9 points, 7 points, 10, 12. But Rashee Rice comes back in week 7. He serves a 6-game suspension. So my question is, obviously, I think we're all in agreement. Rashee Rice is the wide receiver 1 on this team when he comes back. I think Rashee Rice is going to be a top 12 wide receiver for the most part rest of season as soon as he returns. He's going to get the targets. He's going to be the number 1 guy, the go-to guy, the guy who gets open, the guy who really fills that need that Patrick Mahomes has. So my question for you is, that obviously to me hurts Travis Kelce when it comes to those kind of crunch, third down things where they just kind of throw the ball to Travis Kelce because he's the only consistent one they have on the team right now. So it hurts Kelce in my opinion. So I think he becomes a guy that you're not starting every week. He's kind of a matchup play. Worthy, again, I think is a deep threat when Rashee Rice comes back. It's not going to be as consistent. So are you guys comfortable starting any of the wide receiving options, tight end options in Kansas City once Rashee Rice comes back, or is this just going to be a matchup-based streaming kind of situation?
Yeah, I think it's going to be definitely a matchup-based streaming. I'm more worried about Kelce because of the drops that he's had, and he's just looked a tad slower. I've got him on a team, and I reluctantly played him this past Monday night game and was just thanking and praying when he scored that touchdown. I do think Tyquan Thornton has secured a role in that offense. Not saying he's going to be every week doing something, but I think it's going to be more of a Worthy, Thornton, and Rice, where Thornton might do something 1 week. You're right. Rice and Worthy are going to be the 2 guys.
Yeah, Rice and Worthy are going to be the 2 guys. Jeff frozen a little bit there, but
yes.
Yeah, I think Worthy will, like right now it's Worthy, Brown and Thornton has kind of filled that role that Worthy has played with the deep shots while he's been hurt and kind of in and out of the lineup. So my concern with Thornton is, Rice comes back, Worthy slides over, and he becomes a deep threat, and Hollywood Brown's probably the other guy they're starting when they're in 3 wide receiver sets, which then Thornton's like, okay, maybe he gets a shot a game, but that's kind of all he's going to be getting. So for me, again, I think Worthy is going to be the safest of the other options, but I'm not super excited about him. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I think the real question we should be thinking too is how long does Thornton stay there? Because if Hollywood Brown's healthy and you got Rice, and Smith is starting to get a little bit, Brad Smith's starting to get a little bit more of a role, and then you got Pacheco and you got Hunt who's scoring short yardage touchdowns. I mean, I think Thornton is a name you have to watch potentially getting traded by the Chiefs because they could probably get a 3rd rounder for him for a team that needs a wide receiver. I'm just being honest. Like, if you're the Chiefs, are you really going to keep that many guys? Because at some point you can't feed everybody. You just can't.
Well, that's what I'm wondering though, because to me, I'm thinking that it might be Hollywood Brown that's starting to get squeezed out. Because if you notice, his target ratio is dropping, and Thornton's is kind of going up. So that's what I'm wondering. And you look at it, Worthy and him are kind of redundant. I think Worthy is a kind of healthier, younger version, faster version of Brown now. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
So I'd say I would keep an eye on Chiefs players because I think they either have to be content of spreading the ball around a lot, which Patrick Mahomes does, or they have to start thinking like, hey, what else if they lose another 2? Let's say they lose 2 more games out of the next 4. At what point do the Chiefs say, you know what, maybe we need to start thinking about getting some more draft capital for next year?
Right. Yeah, I think
it might be Hollywood Brown, Jeff. You're right. It might, but it seems to me they're going to move somebody.
Because you got to think about it. Remember, Thornton, he's a 2nd-year player. I don't think a lot of people think about that. This guy is really, a younger, healthier player than Hollywood.
He's a 4th-year player.
Is he 4th year? My bad. Yeah. My bad. I remember
he was a 2nd-round pick.
He's maybe had one relevant year, kind of, sort of, with the Patriots.
No relevant years.
Like if you're the 49ers and if you find yourself, hey, I need a wide receiver. I mean, I'm calling the Chiefs to see if they're ready to move one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Rashee Rice and then the other guys. Like you said, they like to pass the ball around and kind of, dole it out to everybody who's involved. I think they kind of like the depth aspect of their wide receiver core, but I think it's going to be Rashee Rice is the first target on almost every play they run. And then, every once in a while they'll have a first read target for Worthy or for Thornton. Maybe not as much for Marquise Hollywood Brown, but I do think it's going to be Rice. I'm excited to have him in the Ocean State League, and I can't wait to put him back in my lineup because in that league, I've lost Hampton now. I lost Neighbors to IR. I'm losing everybody. Hurt Chuba's hurt. Yeah, everybody's hurt, so I'm like, come on. But Rice is coming back, and I think he's going to be, again, a top 12 wide receiver. He'll be the wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes, and that historically has been a valuable spot when he has a wide receiver 1. I don't think currently they have a wide receiver 1. They got a bunch of wide receiver 2s in their depth chart, but Rice is the only wide receiver 1 in my opinion. There we go. There's some fantasy football impacts of some injuries, some new trade forward with the Joe Flacco situation, guys coming back from suspensions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully we helped you a little bit analyze your fantasy football team. Thank you, Jeff and Will, for joining me, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Gotcha.